Color space transform, color management. What are these? Today's video is going to be part of my series, Things I Learned the Hard Way So You Shouldn't, Part 3. Back to the question, color space and color management are terms you need to familiarize yourself with if you want to begin your color grading journey. And trust me, from someone that has learned the hard way, it will save you a lot of stress. Jumping right into it, what is a color space? A color space is a defined range of colors that a device, like a camera, screen, or printer, can capture, display, or reproduce. You can also think of a color space as the language that devices use to talk about color. Your camera speaks one language, like Sony's S-Log3 or Canon's C-Log. Your editing timeline in Resolve uses a master language, like DaVinci Wide Gamut. And platforms like YouTube speak yet another, Rec 709. Different mediums with their different color spaces, but you have to be conscious and aware of three of them: the input color space, the timeline color space, and the output color space. Your input color space is the color space that your camera shoots in. Your timeline color space is the color space you're going to be working in, and your output color space is going to be the color space of the medium where you'll be displaying the project or the edit you're going to be making. Can be YouTube, can be TikTok, can be your TV screens. Each of these mediums have a different color space that they work in. Now, the process of managing all these color spaces is basically, without proper color management, what you see on your screen is different from what your audience will see on the TV. There are several ways you can go about color management, especially doing color management in DaVinci Resolve. I will be focusing on two of the most common color management processes. One is the node-based color management, and the other is the DaVinci Resolve color management process. The node-based color management is more or less a manual process of doing color management, while the DaVinci Resolve color management process is more of an automatic process. Well, kinda. Jumping right into it, I'm going to show you how I do my node-based color management, or how it's basically done everywhere. So you go to your settings here, you go to color management, you go to the color science, you ensure the color science is set as DaVinci YRGB. Now, there are different color science modes, but when you want to make use of the manual or node-based color management process, you make use of DaVinci YRGB. Now, this process does not do any transformation automatically, although you can set your terminal color space and your output color space. It doesn't do any transformation for you. You have to set it up by yourself in the node graph. So I'll set my timeline color space to DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate, and I'll set my output color space to Rec 709 Gamma 2.2. That will be all. I have clips here that are log footages, which I downloaded off YouTube, which I'll be using to show you the transformation processes. And the pictures are looking flat and desaturated, and they are in their input color space, the way it was shot in camera. We'll be transforming it now to the terminal color space and next to the output color space. So for this clip now, the information of the color space is written on it, or I can go to where it is in the media pool, and it was added to the name of the footage. The footage of files you're going to be working with, you have to know the color space they are in, so that it can help you to transform them easily. You can either check your camera if you shot it yourself, or ask for the name of the color space they shot the files in. So this one has it attached to its name here, and the color space of this footage is an ARRI Alexa log C footage. I have different clips shot with different cameras with different color space. This is to help you understand and see the need for color management, because depending on the project you're working with, you will have to work with footages from several camera inputs or several graphic files with their different color spaces. You have to know and understand color management to be able to work with these colors without having any issue with consistency of the colors. While using the node-based color management process, you're going to make use of the nodes here, and also this color space transform effect. So what you have to do here is to ensure that you are seeing the colors you are editing as they would be when you finally export, or how they would be on YouTube. And now to do that, you have to add another node to this. So right off as you begin editing, you add 3 nodes. And we'll set this as your input node. Set this as your output node. Now this setup is going to take in the input node, that's the way it was shot in the camera, the color spacing it was shot in the camera, convert it to a timeline color space, which is the color space you're going to be working with. Then the output color space, which is the color space you're going to be seeing on your TV or on, let's say, YouTube, for example. And you can basically transform your footage from the input color space to your output color space without having to work with a timeline color space. You take your color space transform and you put here now, you put the input color space, which is the color space of your camera, the camera in which you shot your footage. This, like I said earlier, is the ARRI Alexa Loxi footage. Then the input gamma is ARRI Loxi 3. Then I'll set my output color space, which is the color space I'll be doing it as Rec 709, and the gamma as gamma 2.2. You can see how the footage has transformed, like from being flat to, you know, what it is now, Rec 709. I didn't even have to do any color grading, but you can see how beautiful it already looks. Now, this is fine if you want to export and you don't want to do any color grading and put on YouTube or any platform. But if you want to make an edit to this footage, maybe you want to, add more color, play with the brightness, do color correction and all of that. If you go ahead and you start making notes, start making corrections and all of that, you're going to be working on the Rec 709 Gamma 2.2 color space, which, although it's the color space you're going to be exporting in, is a smaller color space as compared to the color space in which your camera shot the footage, or a color space like DaVinci Wide Gamut, which you are supposed to use to make your edits, because it's a wider color space. You can think of a color space also as like a box of crayons. So a wider or a larger box of crayon gives you more colors to play with, unlike a smaller box of crayon like the Rec 709 in this case. So yeah, you can make your edit and continue like this. Your footage looks nice, tweak a bit, but you will be faced with clipping and all of that. You'll be faced with clipping, you'll be faced with banding and all of that, because the dynamic range and the range of colors you have to work with on your Rec 709, which is a smaller color space, it's very small. So the proper way to do this is to first convert your input color space to your timeline color space you'll be working with. And that color space you are transforming into has to be a color space that is as large as the camera color space or larger. Generally, a larger color space should be your timeline color space. Now to do that, you will delete this. You add another node here at S. Set this as your output node, output node. So here you already have the conversion to Rec 709 Gamma 2.2, and we're going to transform this input color space to the timeline color space first. So to do that, we go here, go to the output color space here, set here as DaVinci Wide Gamut, then set this as DaVinci Intermediate. That's what I'm looking for as the output colors output gamma. So what this has done on this node now is to take the input color space and transfer it to the timeline color space. Then what this node is receiving right now is the DaVinci Wide Gamut, is the footage with DaVinci Wide Gamut color space. So what I'm going to do here is add another color space transform then now convert that DaVinci Wide Gamut color space to my output color space. That's the color space I'll be viewing my footage in like YouTube. So I go to the input color space now. Input color space now has now changed to the DaVinci Wide Gamut. So I'll go there, set DaVinci Wide Gamut, go to my input gamut, set it as DaVinci Intermediate. Then in my output color space now, I will now set it as Rec 709, which is the color space I will be exporting into. So you see it's beautiful, you understand? It looks nice and all of that. So how do you use this now? Any edit you're going to be making, any changes you're going to be making, you'll be making it in between these nodes. So you add your nodes in between these nodes. So at this point here, all you're having here is your DaVinci Wide Gamut, your working timeline, your working color space, your timeline color space, that's going to be here. So I want to show you something now. If you look at this color wrapper here, you can see if I'm tapping any of these nodes, you can use this to give a presentation, like an illustration of your color space, how wide your color space is. Tapping the nodes with the ARRI Wide Gamut or the nodes with the DaVinci Wide Gamut color space, you can see the way it looks. Now, going to the Rec 719 Gamut, which is the active color space, which is a smaller color space also, you can see how compressed it looks. There's a small, space you can make changes before it starts clipping. And like when you are working here, you can see so much space. It has so much space. You can make changes to your highlights. You can make changes to your color. It won't clip as much as that when you've already transformed to your output color space and you start working on it. That's it for your node-based structure. So if you are using another camera footage, you have to do the same thing, set the inputs, node, set the outputs, and set the timeline color space. Next, I'm making use of DaVinci Resolve color management, which you can do here also in the setting. You just have to go to your setting, go to color management, go to color science, select DaVinci YRGB color managed. Now you can leave this turned on, does all the transformation for you. It basically has that setup I have at this node, but it does that for like every clip. Another thing to note is that if you are shooting raw comes with information that you don't even need to do any further thing. Like if all your footages are like shooting raw, you don't need to do anything further. It just does the transformation for you. Either you're using automatic color management or not. But the way I use this DaVinci YRGB color management is that I turn this automatic color management off. I go to the color processing mode, go to custom, and here you can see I have the settings to set my input color space, my timeline color space, and my output color space, which is the same thing I did while working with the node-based color management. If most of my clips are like from a particular camera, let's say the ARRI Log C3 or any of that, I can simply set it here and set my timeline color space to DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate, set my color space to like 709, number 2.2. The other settings you can leave as they are. I'm going to do all of that, but I would normally set my timeline working luminance, which is just basically how bright my screen to be 10,000 nits. My input DRT, output DRT, I'm not going to be talking about that in this video, probably next video. You can leave it as this, works pretty fine, although there are different settings you can also make here, but I think you can leave it as this. So you save, and DaVinci Resolve would try to do your color management for you. Although I've already done that with the node base, I'm going to delete all of that, and you see my footage, there's no transformation, right? Straight off the bat. Now I said it's going to do a transformation for you, but there's no transformation. Why is that? Because the footage I have here are log footages. They are not raw footages. If I had raw footages in my timeline, DaVinci Resolve will automatically make use of the information provided there to do a transformation for me. So I would not need to do anything. But because I'm using log footages, I need to go here, right click the clip, and set my input color space. I just need to set my input color space as the color space in which the camera starts the footage, and that's all I need to do. So I can, in the project settings, remember I set the project settings as ARRI log C, so I can set it here, or I can go here, set my input color space to ARRI log C, and instantly it does it for me. I don't need to be setting a node. I need to be worrying about darks for my node. Now this setting is not available when you're using the DaVinci YRGB. It doesn't have this input color space. You won't see it here. You only have this in your DaVinci YRGB color managed. So you set your input color space. So what you do is that before, or when you start color grading, you go to your input color space and you set it for each of the clips. If you are bringing in pictures, with sRGB format, you have to go and set the input color space, and it will look consistent, with the way it was shot and all of that. So my input color space for this one, this footage is was shot in a Fuji film GFX 100 in a 4K f-log footage. So go here, set my input color space to Fujifilm f-log, and see how beautiful this clip is. Okay. It's a still footage on this one. I think this has a bit of movement in it. I need something with a bit of movement like this. Let me set this input color space. This is a Canon EOS 1D, Canon EOS 4C, 4K C log. C log is the color space. Is the color space. So Canon C log. I think I'll just use this first one. You can see it has beautifully transformed the footage. So what you are seeing here is the footage in Rec 709. So in just converting the footage from the color space to shot into Rec 709, you might not need to do any color grading. What you have here now is your timeline color space. What you are seeing on your screen is your output color space. That's how it's going to look when you export. That's how it's going to look on YouTube or TikTok. But the timeline color space in this DaVinci RGB color manage is already set to DaVinci Wide Gamut. So I can make my settings here, without having to fear or worry about anything, because it's on the DaVinci YRGB color manage. So let's see if you have your timeline color space as Rec 709. So the color wrapper is compressed. You can see that it fills up the whole thing because I've converted the timeline color spaces. This Rec 709 is compressed already, so you can see it's almost coming out. And like when I set the timeline color space to DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate and set the output color space to Rec 709. You can see the space it has, how large the DaVinci Wide Gamut is, or like when you had your Rec 709. So that's it for color management in general. You can either use the node-based structure or use the DaVinci Resolve color management process. So that's basically it for your color management. If you have any further questions, hit me up in the comment section and I will answer you. I'll also make a separate video, to explain more things. And if you love this video, make sure to like and subscribe and turn on notifications for more of this content. I really love making this video. And yeah, thank you.